Hey guys, welcome back to the channel McNallie Money, home of all things stock, investment, and personal finance related. Now for today's video, we're going to be providing an update on some huge news that just came out this morning on a company that's a leader in the biotech space. So the company name is Awakn Life Sciences. We actually just did a deep dive analysis on their business yesterday on the channel. So super excited to talk about today's developments. Before we get into it, please take a second, hit the like button, you guys. It really does help get this content to other people like yourself who may find value. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, McNallie Money, feel free to do so. And let me know in the comment section below if you're currently holding shares of Awakn and what you thought about today's big news. Now with that being said, let's get into today's video. Okay guys, so that's right. Today's video, we're going to be providing an update on Awakn Life Sciences. Now this is super interesting. I literally just put out a deep dive analysis on this company yesterday on the channel. Now lo and behold, I was going through my watch list news feed this morning and I noticed some massive news that just was released this morning from Awakn Life Sciences. So I thought the timing was honestly too good to give up, and I wanted to get an update video out because there's some really exciting news in relation to their alcohol use disorder studies that we actually talked about in yesterday's video. So you can see here yesterday's session, this is as of close January 10th. The company closed out at $3 per share, up 15 cents on the day. We saw a huge spike in share price and volume right towards the end of the day, and likely that was in anticipation of the news being released this morning. So with that being said, if we jump over to news file here, this came out at 5:30 this morning, so very early. Awakn Life Sciences announces positive test results for their phase 2A and B ketamine assisted therapy for the treatment of alcohol use disorder or AUD trial. Now for those of you who didn't see yesterday's video, Awakn Life Sciences has a number of different substances that they're testing that are in various different stages of clinical trials. Ketamine assisted therapy was the one that they're furthest along with, specifically as it relates to AUD or alcohol use disorder. So this was super encouraging to see. We're going to go through the clinical trial results later in the presentation. They've actually already updated their investor presentation, which is phenomenal. Then we're going to round out the video by looking at the leadership team that's actually responsible for these impressive results. So I'll walk us through the trial results here, you guys, because there really are a number of key takeaways, including an 86% abstinence over 6 months post-treatment. So you can see here the news came out, Awakn, a biotechnology company, one of the front runners in this space, is developing and delivering psychedelic therapeutics, a combination of medicine and therapies, which we talked about yesterday, to treat addiction. They're now delighted to announce groundbreaking positive data from their phase 2A and B trials. It was the first controlled trial in the world to investigate ketamine-assisted therapy for the treatment of alcohol use disorder or AUD. The results have been published in the American Journal of Psychiatry, and the trial was conducted by the University of Exeter and led by Professor Celia Morgan, who's Awakn's head of the ketamine-assisted therapy program and happens to be the professor of psychopharmacology at the University of Exeter as well. And we're actually going to look into Celia's background and the role she plays within this company towards the end of the presentation. Now the positive phase 2 trial results really paved the way to progress into the pivotal phase 3 trials with the ultimate aim of securing regulatory approval for ketamine-assisted therapy to treat alcohol use disorder in the United Kingdom through the NHS or the National Health Service, and the potential to expand this into other areas or territories across the world through potential licensing of intellectual property agreements, which we're actually going to look at right at the end of today's presentation. Now the details of the trial here, this was a double-blind, placebo-controlled trial which included 96 patients, so a very good sample size, with severe alcohol use disorder who were randomized into one of 4 groups. So the first group here had 3 ketamine infusions, 0.8 milligrams per kilogram of body mass, delivered intravenously over a 40-minute period, plus proprietary manualized therapy, or what they call CARE. The second group here had 3 saline infusions plus the care therapy. The third group had 3 ketamine infusions plus traditional alcohol education. And the fourth group had 3 saline infusions plus alcohol education. So a mix of the actual ketamine infusion itself and saline solution, and then again a mix of the care treatment or this specialized therapy compared to traditional alcohol education. Now we're going to go through all of the results in more detail in the updated investor presentation, but the primary outcomes of the trial were number 1, to see the days abstinent after the 6-month treatment, and then number 2, to see the relapse percentage at the 6-month follow-up point. Now the findings showed that ketamine combined with care therapy resulted in total abstinence in 162 of 180 days following the 6-month period, and achieved an increase in abstinence from around 2% prior to the trial to 86% post-trial. So truly phenomenal results here, you guys. The results for the relapse component, so the secondary metric here at 6-month check-in, showed the ketamine plus care treatment group was 2.7 times less likely to relapse than the placebo plus alcohol education group. So you're really seeing that not only the ketamine works, but the actual care therapy itself, particularly in combination with one another, is extremely effective compared to the baseline or placebo group. Now in yesterday's video, we talked about the dire need for some sort of alcohol use disorder treatment, and we talked about how the current programs really don't hit the mark and don't leave a lot of successful cases among people who really undergo treatment. So Professor Celia Morgan goes on to say this is extremely encouraging, as we normally see 3 out of 4 people return to heavy drinking within 12 months of treatment. The data we've collected from this study paves the way for a paradigm shift in how AUD is treated moving forward. And I also wanted to give a quick quote from the CEO, Anthony Tennyson, who states, "We are so pleased to see such encouraging results in an area of treatment that has been stagnant for so long, leaving so many people with little or subpar options available to them. We will continue to support this research and future clinical trials as we push to bring a radical shift in alcohol addiction treatment industry." So I actually received a number of comments in relation to yesterday's video, and I replied to a few of them by saying it's super encouraging and exciting for me to invest in companies like Awakn that are actually leading change or positive change in the world, and results like this from this type of test really show that the ideas and the strategy that the team here at Awakn has put forward do really work, and they're actually helping day-to-day people's lives get better. So that's super encouraging to me. You guys know I talk about a lot of ESG type of companies on the channel, and I truly do like to invest in companies that I feel good about backing and are leading positive change in the world we live in. So as a quick reminder, if we now shift gears and jump into the investor presentation, this is the Awakn team's progress pipeline. So as you can see, alcohol use disorder is top of the food chain here, and the ketamine treatment itself, compared to some of the other options like MDMA, is furthest along in the clinical trial pipeline. And next up would be that pivotal phase 3 clinical trial, which really enables them to bring this to the mainstream society. And with that being said, now we're going to jump into the research program results. And again, as mentioned, they've already gone in and updated this investor presentation, which is phenomenal. So we can really dig into some of these results in a lot more detail. Now, in order to conduct any of these trials, there are assets that are required by the company in order to get going. So Awakn has acquired the exclusive rights to the world's only phase 2B clinical trial for ketamine-assisted therapy to treat AUD, led by world-renowned ketamine expert Professor Celia Morgan, which we just talked about, who is now Awakn's head of ketamine-assisted therapy for addiction. So that really set the stage here and set up Awakn to start making progress in this field. Now the current activity, we already talked about this, the results from the phase 2B trial are going to be published in the American Journal of Psychiatry, which was just mentioned in today's press release. Awakn has signed an MOU, which is Memo of Understanding, in the UK to bring the research into phase 3, and Awakn has initiated a ketamine research program into behavioral addiction. So there's a number of things going on in unison here. Now the future planned activity is really going to be pivoting from these phase 2 trials into that phase 3 trial, which is the final milestone for the company to take this product to market. Now, speaking of the market, the opportunity here, you guys, again, alcohol use disorder affects 5% of the global adult population. Current treatment rates stand at only 16% due to the low success rate, and 75% of those people who seek treatment actually relapse within 12 months. So that really shows the need for some of these new and innovative treatment alternatives. And if we quickly jump over to the prevalence of addiction slide, you can see that 5% alcohol use disorder on a global scale equates to about 390 million adult individuals. So a huge addressable market for this product or treatment solution. Now, if you recall, in the news release we just talked about, there were two primary outcomes of this study. So the first one was days abstinent. And what that really means in this particular study is the ability of patients to restrain themselves from consuming or indulging in alcohol. Now there's 4 lines on this graph because those were the 4 groups involved in this study. So you can see the yellow line is the care group, blue is placebo plus traditional alcohol education, red is ketamine plus alcohol education, and green is the placebo plus therapy. So the line we're really looking at here, you guys, is the yellow line. That's the care line. On the y-axis, you can see the mean percentage of days abstinent, and on the x-axis, you can see the time frame here, which is really signified at follow-up times being 3 and 6 months. So you can see the trial met its primary success criteria by achieving a prolonged and statistically significant increase in rates of abstinence in the 6-month post-treatment bucket, so that's this one here, with 86% abstinence observed in the care therapy arm compared to 70% in placebo and alcohol education arm. So that's the 86% we see here compared to the placebo or control group down at 70%. So a significant improvement there. Now further to that, the care therapy in the yellow line here, you guys, significantly increased the percentage of days abstinent compared to the placebo and education group, with 86% abstinence observed in the care therapy arm. So this line or this data point here, which is more than double the 38% abstinence observed in a similar group of patients that received an industry standard treatment in the United States. So again, super encouraging results here. So whether we're looking at the percentage of days abstinent or the total days abstinent, you can see the care program really does have significantly improved results. Now the other outcome or co-primary outcome of this trial was really focused around relapse. So again, you can see the care treatment here in yellow, you guys, compared to the placebo plus alcohol education in blue, and that industry standard treatment in gray here. The care group were 2.7 times more likely than the placebo group and 2.5 times more likely than those using that industry standard treatment to have no heavy drinking days in the 6-month period after treatment. Now, heavy drinking days are defined in this study by 65 grams of alcohol for men or 52 grams of alcohol in a single day for women. If you jump over to Google here, you can see there's varying different definitions, but essentially one standard drink contains anywhere from 14 to 10 grams of alcohol. So if you think about 65 grams of alcohol for men in a single day, that would be roughly 6 to 6.5 drinks, or about 5 to 5.5 drinks for women in a single day. So again, members of the care group were between 2.7 and 2.5 times more likely to have no days of heavy drinking within the 6-month period after treatment. And this is truly phenomenal and has a big impact on patient health. So sticking on the trend of heavy drinking or heavy drinking days here, again, you can see the various different trial groups. And if you look at the line in yellow, the care group here, you can see the numbers are significantly lower. When comparing care to the industry standard treatment, as usual in the United States, we can see a 77% reduction in heavy drinking days. Now, obviously, if patients are drinking less or they're drinking less frequently, that should have some positive secondary outcomes. So one of those is actually depression. Now, in this study, Awakn actually excluded people who were taking antidepressant medication at the time of the trial. So that is one thing to note. But there was a significant reduction in depression in the ketamine group versus the placebo group at 3 months. And that improvement actually held all the way out to the 6-month follow-up as well, although to a slightly lesser degree. Now, another secondary outcome here, you guys, is going to be liver function. So again, significant improvement in liver function at the 6-month post-trial check-in This was measured across 4 different validated biomarkers of liver function. So you can see the chart here. And what this really indicates is that ketamine is not only safe for the treatment of AUD, but is also associated with an improvement in liver function. And currently, liver disease is the second most common cause of preventable death in the United Kingdom. And that's a perfect transition to the final chart here, which looks at mortality rates. And as you can see here, again, alcohol consumption in grams is shown in yellow. The risk of death is shown on the left axis here. As you consume more alcohol, obviously the risk of death increases. Based upon the alcohol consumption rates of the 96 people in this trial, 12.5% of those people would have died from alcohol-related disease within 1 year, and this was actually reduced to 1.25% after the treatment. So all things considered here, you guys, the results from this care treatment truly are astonishing. People are drinking less, they're relapsing less frequently. That's leading to better bodily function, whether we're talking about the liver or mental function related to depression. And as a result of all of that, mortality or death rates are actually dropping. These people are recovering. They're not relapsing at anywhere close to the rates we see with other treatment alternatives. And as a result, they're going on to live productive and more healthy lives post-treatment. So a huge congratulations to the team here at Awakn for very impressive results in relation to their AUD treatment or clinical trials. And with that being said, I did want to spend a couple of minutes on the leadership team behind this company. So there's a couple of key players I wanted to point out here. First and foremost here is Anthony Tennyson, who's the co-founder and CEO of Awakn. So if we jump into his profile here, you can see Anthony is an experienced financial service industry executive with 10 years in international strategy, commercial leadership roles with Aon, and 5 years experience with Merrill Lynch and the Bank of Ireland. He's got an MBA in strategy and finance and a Master's of Sciences in technology. So very well educated and a nice complement of financial experience and scientific experience and education. Now next on the list is Professor David Nutt. He's a psychiatrist by trade, and he's actually published over 400 original research papers related to the treatment of addiction and various different psychiatric disorders. Now he's currently the president of the European Brain Council and founding chair of drug science. Previously, he's been the president of the British Association of Psychopharmacology and the British Neuroscience Association. And in 2010, Times Eureka Science magazine actually voted him one of the 100 most important figures in British science. So David is extremely accredited. He's got a ton of experience in this field, in the scientific realm overall, and brings a wealth of knowledge to the leadership team at Awakn. And if David didn't bring enough knowledge to that group, we also have Professor Celia Morgan, who's the head of ketamine-assisted psychotherapy for addiction. So Celia is really the person responsible for heading up this most recent trial in terms of alcohol use disorder. Celia is a professor of psychopharmacology at the University of Exeter in the United Kingdom. She has a PhD from the University College in London and completed a scholarship program at Yale University. And she's actually worked at a number of universities, including the University of Melbourne, which, funny enough, I actually attended on an international exchange program. And she's worked as a senior lecturer at the University of Exeter and was actually given a chair in psychopharmacology in 2015. So again, extremely accredited here, a ton of knowledge that she can bring to the team, and really a key player or key component in Awakn's strategy and success. Now the final point I really wanted to touch on here, and we didn't really talk about this in yesterday's video, is really the future prospects around licensing some of this intellectual property to expand the reach or the scale of Awakn's treatment solutions. So again, the purpose here is to scale the reach and impact outside of the United Kingdom and Europe, starting with the United States and Canada. The target audience, again, is going to be addiction treatment clinics and ketamine treatment clinics in North America here. And what this really allows Awakn to do is license out some of this proprietary knowledge or intellectual property and actually generate additional streams of revenue for the company. So the proposition here would be that Awakn provides access to their intellectual property and content. They provide an operating entity certification, practitioner certification, and the corresponding training to administer these treatments. They're also going to provide operating entity and practitioner recertification, clinic operations, advisory, and awareness. So they're actually going to go out, teach other practitioners and clinics how to administer these treatments, and as a result, that's going to expand the reach, expand the number of people who are actually finding benefit in these programs, and drive additional revenue for the team at Awakn. So I'm super excited about the potential of this intellectual property and the licensing agreements moving forward, and this is definitely one that I would keep an eye on if you're thinking about investing in Awakn. Now with that being said, you guys, that really rounds out today's video. So again, a huge congrats to the team at Awakn for these very impressive results. If you're still watching the video at this point in time, hopefully you found some value, so please ensure you hit the like button on your way out. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, McNallie Money, feel free to do so, and let me know in the comment section below if you're currently holding shares of Awakn, what you think about today's big news release, and how you think this team stacks up to some of the others in this space. Now with that being said, you guys, thanks so much for watching and have a great rest of your day.